Oh, glad to have you all here. And we're going to talk about something very important tonight, and that is how to get out of negative word cycle. Definitely want to be able to always speak positive to yourself. There's just so many studies about how when you speak positive to yourself, it makes the world of difference. Really, really makes the world of difference. And when I went out to Utah, I did a conference in Utah, and I did a lot about, it was called an identity crisis. And the gist of it was speaking good words over yourself. And so let's get started. A lot of times the negativity starts because somebody said something negative to you. It could have just been lighthearted with started with a nickname that somebody called you. And it could have been kind of a derogatory nickname, even as a child, that you picked up. Or it could have been something nasty that a boyfriend said to you. Or it could have been something nasty that a coworker said to you, or a boss said to you, or a doctor said to you. I remember here I was trying to lose weight all this time, as you know, from my weight loss journey. And I told you I had lost and gained twice. And then I had lost to a point and I got stuck. And I had went to the best bariatric center, and it was well known throughout the country, the St. Vincent Bariatric Center, and it had already had my weight loss surgery, the Rowan-Y. And a new doctor came. I had lost my doctor, which I loved. I loved my doctor. You know, you don't get to keep your doctor that you love. We all know that by now, right? And so a new doctor came, and I don't think he even bothered to read my history about my weight loss. And as an aside, as I'm walking out, he said, "You're too heavy." Now, that's not professional at all. He could have said, "Your BMI is still a little bit too high, and we would like for you to work on your diet." I could have accepted that, even though the fact that I had already lost 90 pounds with my bariatric weight loss, and I had been followed closely by my bariatric associates and with a dietitian that I was seeing on a monthly basis, and I could email at any time. Obviously, I was working very, very hard on my diet. And for him just to do an aside like that "you're too heavy" as I'm walking out the door, was like a slap in the face to me. And like I said, at the end there, when I was stuck, and I was stuck literally for several years at that last amount of weight. Then I started the Ozempic, and that's when I got the last little bit of weight off. Was just literally a slap in the face to me after I had worked so hard. And I just don't believe that he even bothered to look at my chart to understand my history. So things like that are just very hurtful a lot of times. So who said that to you? Sometimes you have to stop when you're figuring out your negative self-talk and figure out who said that to you. And that's part of starting to grab that word and pull it out of your negative thought cycle. So that's what we're going to learn. We're going to learn how to grab a hold of those negative thoughts and take them by the root and pull them out of your negative thought cycle and start putting in positive things. I have this book. It's a wonderful book. It's called Water Crystal Healing. And it's literally about this doctor, Dr. Masaru Emoto. He took water crystals, and then he started playing music to them, and he started speaking to them, and then he magnified them under a microscope. And the water crystals changed images depending on what sound waves they were exposed to. And the images are just amazing. And this book is a little tiny booklet, really. It's really insignificant. And if you know anything about Japan, they're not flashy. They're simple, insignificant, is Japan's style. And this book is totally in that style. It's simple, insignificant. You would totally pass over this book, but it's totally profound, the information that is in this book. And I love this book. It's so profound. He shows you the images and how the water molecules change as to what they are exposed to. And you have to remember what we talked about, that most of our body is made up of water molecules. And when he shows you how these water molecules change compared to what they're exposed to, you will definitely start to pay attention to what sound waves you are exposed to. Words are powerful and go on forever. Literally, sound waves never end and they echo throughout eternity. That is absolutely a proven fact. We know that. We know that radio waves are sometimes found out into space from the 1950s, 40s, everything, because they are literally going on forever. Sound waves generate what? Energy, whether your words are good or bad. So be careful what you spew into the universe. You definitely need to be careful of your words. And as I told you about the book here, now here is, and I will give you this PowerPoint in the description so that you can have these, what do you call them? These links so that you can order the book. So a family in Japan wanted to test Dr. Emoto's theory, and they did what's called the rice experiment. If you haven't found out about the rice experiment, you definitely want to do that. And again, I've left you the link here. What they did is they took 2 jars of rice and put them with some water and put them in a cupboard. And they tipped the 1 jar of rice and they spoke over it, "I love you," loving words to the 1 jar of rice. The other jar of rice, they spoke hateful words over. And it took some months. And I gave you this blog. It's actually a blog about this because I like the way that she broke down the blog about the timeline that it took for the rice. The loving rice stayed preserved the whole time. And I think it was over like almost 8 to 9 months. And they told you what happened to this rice. The loving rice stayed preserved the whole time. The words that were spoken hateful over the rice, it ended up becoming just rotted. It destroyed the rice. But I like the timeline. She showed you it took a little while, and it took a little while on the surface versus underneath, speaking those words of hate to the jar of rice. And so I gave you that timeline, and it's very interesting how the jar that was spoken hate over decayed over time. So be careful of the words that you speak and keep that in mind about words that may have been spoken over you as you work, because you're going to work now to get rid of those negative word cycles and speak positive word cycles over you, because this is an integral part of your healing towards becoming a new you so that you can move forward with your passion project. Negative words may have been planted there. We just talked about that. And they may have been just a kind-hearted person not really understanding what they were saying to you. Or they may have been some abusive father. They may have been an abusive uncle. They may have been an abusive boyfriend, husband, whatever. Now we have to work at pulling that down. All right. So pull those words out because they may have taken root. And, the abuse cycle is a whole nother science of itself. Hopefully, you're getting some counseling for that. This is not counseling. This is just support. But there are some words here that will help you to do that. So pull these words out. You got to pull them out by the root. And this will become an active exercise for a while. If somebody has been throwing these nasty words at you for a long time, then it's going to take a while, and it's going to be like an active exercise. Think of it like active exercise, like building up your biceps or like building up your, crunches on your belly. This is an active exercise. It's a mental exercise, but it's an active exercise. So you're going to get muscle memory of how to pull these words down. All right. You're going to cast these imaginations out of your mind, these negative words out of your mind. You're not going to allow these thoughts to take root anymore. We're going to start right here, right now. We're not going to allow these words to take root anymore. We're going to start plucking them out of our mind, and we're not going to allow them. You're going to have to actively think about it, and you're actively going to catch them in motion, and you're going to pull them out and not allow them to take root anymore. It will take work. This takes work. And like I said, if you've been in an abusive situation, it's going to even take you more work because you've had more things planted there, right? Think about a garden. Has anybody seen that? Oh, I can't remember the name of the movie right now, but she has a cabin in Washington. Oh, it's a beautiful movie, and she ends up pulling out the roots of your heart is what it is, the bitterness of your heart. Oh, I can't think of the name of the movie right now, but I'll get back to you on that. But it's the same thing. If you've let your mind be overtaken with all this trash of abuse, you're going to have a lot more things to pull out than somebody who's not been exposed to as much. So we're here to support you, to help you get those things pulled out. All right, because you are being surrounded by a support group here. That's what we are. We're surrounding you with support. We're not counselors. We're absolutely not counselors. And if you need counseling, I advise you to get that. All right. But we are here to support you, to cheer you on, to inspire you, to encourage you. And because you are, it is time for you, girlfriend. It is time for you to get this taken care of and to start changing these negative thought patterns into good thought patterns. Okay. The question isn't who's going to let me, it's who's going to stop you. All right. Because you are finally on the road to getting better. You're finally on the road to getting well again. You're finally on the road to healing, right? And nobody's going to stop you now. Ain't nobody going to stop you now. All right. First thing you got to do is start recognizing negative patterns. These are just a few of the negative patterns. All right. And again, here's a link that's got a bunch of negative patterns on there. These are scientific negative patterns that you can look up. It's a nice wellness. It's called the Very Well Mind. It's scientifically backed. You can look it up. Okay. Well, some of these things, and watch and see if you don't fall into these. All or none. Nothing good ever happens to me. Nothing good ever happens to me. Don't say that. All good things should come towards you. Amen. All good things should come towards you. All right. Or the disqualifying the positive. And this drives me crazy when I listen to people who say this, and I run across people who say this all the time. Something good goes great, but then you make it not so. It's like, yeah, I got the job offer, but I'm just sure it won't come through. Don't do that. All right. That drives me crazy when I hear people say stuff like that. But don't disqualify the positive. It's like you're afraid to celebrate. You're afraid to celebrate the small things. We have to celebrate the small things. And as you celebrate one small thing, then the next small thing. These are blessings. These are blessings. Why can't you accept the blessings? I know why. It's because you've been trained with negative thoughts. We have got to pull those negative thoughts out and allow ourselves to be blessed. All right? You have to allow yourself to understand that you are worthy of receiving a blessing. Okay? You are worthy of something positive happening for you. It's okay. You can accept that. You don't have to say, oh, I'm sure it's just not going to come through. Absolutely, it's going to come through. Why wouldn't it come through? Don't do that. Jump into conclusions. This is some people are like, oh, I know them women are talking about me. Don't jump to that conclusion. Why would they be talking about you? Do not jump to that conclusion. All right? Don't let the seeds of doubt jump into your mind like that. Pull those seeds of doubt out of your mind. Do not let anybody put those kind of imaginations into your mind. Pull down those imaginations. It's an active muscle memory that you're going to have to work on. Do not allow that to happen to you. All right? Why would them women be talking about you anyways? Don't be thinking that. Who put that thought into your mind? Who put that thought into your mind? Where did that thought even come from? They're probably talking about the coffee pot. They're standing at the coffee pot, probably not dripping right. All right. Why would they be talking about you? Don't let people, it's really not even a people. It's coming out of nowhere. Get that thought out of your mind. All right. Don't let that thought come out of your mind. Maybe they're talking about what they're going to have for supper tonight, but they are not talking about you. Get that thought out of your mind. All right. Just don't jump to some conclusion. And people will come up with all kinds of crazy scenarios that have no merit to it whatsoever. So get that kind of thought pattern out of your mind. Labeling and mislabeling. Well, he's just a loser. Well, where did you come up with that? Do not come up with those kind of things. I'm not smart. My best friend was doing this. She kept saying, well, I can't learn very well and I'm not very smart. And she made the most beautiful lampshades. She made Victorian lampshades. And I had no clue in the world how in the world she made these most beautiful Victorian lampshades. And now if you gave me this beautiful lace, this beautiful sequins, this beautiful, like the shell of a lampshade, you would have a mess on your hands. I could not in my lifetime ever figure out how she put those lampshades together. And yet she was going around telling me how she just wasn't very smart. And I was like, finally, I looked at her and I said, who told you that? Who told you you weren't very smart? And she thought a minute and she said, well, this one boy back in the 5th grade, now mind you, she's 50 some years old. And she's like, this boy back in the 5th grade told me how I wasn't very smart because I didn't do something in some kind of test back then. And I'm like, you let him allow you to think that you weren't very smart for 50 some years. Are you kidding me? I'm like, look at you are doing this, you're doing that, you're doing this, you're doing that. And you're telling me that you're not very smart? Why are you letting his words from the 5th grade affect you and you're 50 years old? I envy what you can do. And she's like, you know what? You're right. I'm going to stop that. And the next thing I know, she had signed up for classes online and this and that. And she's like, you're right. I can learn. Why did I let his words stop me all this time? Don't let somebody label you. Don't mislabel somebody else. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. Don't ever put limits on yourself. This is what this whole thing, the Passion Project, is about. We are going to bust through limits. We're just going to bust through that. We're going to tear down any lies that somebody's tried to lay down on us. We are going to bust through it with the help of God. We are going to bust through it with the help of each other. We're going to encourage, inspire, and cheer on. That is what we're going to do here at the Passion Project. Why? Because you are a miracle. You are an absolute miracle. This child right here is one of my beautiful granddaughters. This is Summer, and she is a lot older than that picture right now, but she's creative. She's an artist, and here is her budding artist on the sidewalk chalk, but she actually has her own little art page on the web now. She's 14 now, and she does her own art on an art page. But every person is an absolute miracle. One cell One cell. And you probably heard that when the sperm meets the egg and that becomes a successful union, it leaves off a spark of light. One cell, when that baby is born, turns into 1 trillion cells. That's an absolute miracle for that to happen. You are a miracle. You, one cell turned into 100 trillion cells. That's an absolute miracle. Then your brain, let's just look at your brain. Your brain is an amazing supercomputer holding 5 times as much as any encyclopedia. Don't let anybody tell you you're stupid. Do not fall for that. Your brain is a supercomputer holding 5 times as much as any encyclopedia. And I will tell you that Albert Einstein said, we are just not even tapping into the most of it. There's no reason why we can't continue to tap into more and more and more of our supercomputer brain. Your heart pumps through 60,000 miles of veins and capillaries. It's just unheard of how many miles that blood goes through your body. Your skin is the ultimate touch screen. You have 1,300 nerve cells and 9,000 nerve endings. Your skin is the ultimate touch screen. Now, here's an experiment. Go around and actually touch something. Actually feel something. For those of you, and this is a disclaimer because I have suffered by the hands of abuse, unfortunately, myself. So this is a disclaimer for those of you that may have suffered from abuse. This will be totally new to you if you have suffered from abuse. And this is something that you do in grounding exercises if you've suffered from PTSD, unfortunately, like I have. Feel the table, feel with your hands, and feel with your feet the ground. This is called the grounding exercise. You will be amazed that you have never felt in that manner before. You will actually pay attention to your nerve endings and your nerve cells, and you will be amazed at what you actually feel, especially those of us who have suffered from the lines of abuse, because we have been taught to stop feeling, because that way we don't feel the abuse. I'm not really going to get into that right now, but I just want you to wake up those nerve endings and wake up those nerve cells, and you will be amazed at what you actually feel. Totally, totally cool. All right, that's enough for tonight. I want you to subscribe and ring the bell, and your exercises are to start stopping this negative word patterns and start putting in these positive things, that you are a miracle, that your brain is a supercomputer, that your heart pumps, and that there is no reason in this world that you should be labeling yourself as not smart. You're amazing. You are amazing. Nobody's going to stop you. Nobody's going to have you given up. You are amazing, because we are here to help each other, encourage, inspire, cheer on. All right. So if you need more help with that, you can go to my Patreon channel for daily, weekly, or individual support, one-on-one support. If you want to work on your weight with the accountability for weigh-ins, you can join the Fitness Pal group Passion Project. That's totally free to sign up there. And if you want to see my recipes, I do have a website called Begley House. All right, much love. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you ring the bell for notifications. Okay. And the main thing we want you to know is that we love you very, very much. Thank you so much. God bless.